Hi, my name is Saya Jackson, and this is Authentic Faith, the show where real people with real questions get real answers from a real God through a real book. Welcome. Have you ever lingered at a place wondering, is it time to go or is it time to stay? Have you been dating and you're thinking, hey, is this time to let go or is this time to progress? Have you been at the same job for a while or been running the same business and you're beginning to think, is this time to let go or is it time to hang on? If that's true for you, you're in great company because today's message is really about that. For just a little context, for now, this is going to be the third within the bigger series. The series is way longer than 3, but in this series of transitions, we've been looking at specifically a component called active waiting, where we realize that God wants the Christian to spend their periods of waiting in life not passively, but actively. And the metaphor we have used this is through the story of Noah. We've been looking at Noah in Genesis 8 verse 6 first opens the window. So in the first part, we looked at what the window means. And then in verse 13, Noah opens the roof. And we looked at the message just preceding this one, what getting rid of the roof means. And today we are looking at the third part, which is the door. So just to be clear, there's a bigger series going on here. It's about transitions. But then within the bigger series on transitions is this middle piece about active waiting within transitions. And so you want to look at the window message, and then you want to look at the roof message, and now come together with me in this message about the door. Genesis 8, I would like us to read together from verse 15. This is what the Bible says. And God spoke unto Noah, saying, Go forth out of the ark, you, and your wife, and your sons wives with you. Bring forth with you every living thing that is with you, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and that they may be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. Now, jump with me to the very last verse, so that as we begin unpacking, you'll be able to understand. This is verse 22. It says, While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. What do I really want us to talk about today? What are the signs that we have reached the time to go to the door? What was it that God knew that made him tell Noah, okay, now Noah, it's time to go to the door? And hey, don't get me wrong. At times, living can be hard. You see, Noah has been building the ark for close to 120 years. He's just spent 1 year in the ark. Hey, when you read the story, his father helped him build the ark. His grandfather, Methuselah, helped him build the ark. So this ark, there's a side of the ark that he could tell you, no, this one Methuselah oversaw, that one my father Lamech oversaw. So the ark was not just a ship for him, it was memory, it was family, it was investment. Hey, he's been here for 1 year. He knows the lion corner, he knows the rhino corner, he knows where the kangaroo stays. So there's family, there's history, there's memory, there's investment, there's emotion in this space. And hey, he spent 120 years building this thing, and it's 1 year, 370 days later, you're telling him, okay, now, dude, it's a wrap, we need to bounce. There must have been resistance, and you must have probably gone through places where you're thinking, yeah, I've been in this company, it feels like I need to move, but hey, I've been here from the time it started, it feels like family. And so you're in that push and pull. You've been with this guy or this chick, you've been going out for a while, and the telltale signs are there like, hey, this thing won't go down well into a nice marriage. But then, hey, there's so much memory built. His family knows you, their family, you know each other, and you're caught in that tension. So in the case of Noah, God tells him, hey, dude, fine, you've built this thing for 120 years, you've been in it for a year, but now it's time to leave, it's time to bounce. When do we know it's time to go to the door, and what does the door mean for us in active waiting? I'll give you 3 reasons. Reason number 1. In the message preceding this one, we talked about Noah removing the roof, and we said one of the reasons for removing the roof was so that it would prepare the animals for reproduction. Now, as a biologist, we know this, that when animals are prepared for reproduction, they tend to become aggressive. And the reason for the aggression is because they want to create territory and they want to have resources within which they can raise their offspring. I hope you caught that. The reason animals are aggressive when they become ready for reproduction is they want to create territory where they can be able to have resources to raise whatever it is their offspring that they're about to bring forth. That should be a lesson to human beings. Okay, if you're a parent about to bring a child, I think you need to show some spiritual aggressiveness so that you make sure they have the spiritual resources to bring up this child properly. But that's off the cuff. Let me just come back and say this. So imagine Noah is going to have a boat full of animals that have been prepared for reproduction and nowhere to expand to. These animals would become very aggressive. And imagine a whole ark full of those. Those animals would soon cease to become companions, they'd become threats within. But secondly, we read another dimension. Before the ark, before the flood had happened, water used to just come from down the earth and there was no rain. There were no seasons as harsh and as extreme as we know them now. But God is telling Noah in Genesis 8:22, now there's going to be a change. There's going to be cold and there's going to be heat. There's going to be summer and there's going to be winter. And imagine when you read Genesis 6, the ark had been made with pitch. Pitch is something close to like tar that has been put inside and outside. And so you can imagine Noah living through in a place like that during summer. The poor brother would cook. So in other words, the changing environment or the changing climate was going to pose a threat. You notice that word is recurring again, the word threat. So God has to ask Noah to leave because you know what? The thing that brought him to this point is not going to be the thing that will take him to the next level because he now has to face new threats. And there are two classes of threats. There's the climate, which is a threat from outside. There are the animals, which are going to be a threat from inside. So clue number one, that it is time to go for the door, it is threats. And the threats are of two categories: potential within that needs expansion room. In other words, threats from within, and threats from outside, which threaten the vessel, the skill set, the vehicle you have known. And let me say this in love. At times, the thing that gets you to this level will not be the thing that takes you to the next level. I had a boss who used to tell me, you're promoted for the work you do at this level, but if you keep doing the work you're doing at this level, in the next level, you'll be fired. In other words, the skills that got you promoted are likely the skills that will get you fired. So if you need to keep growing, if you need to get going, fine, the skills got you there, but you need new skills. You need to let go of probably what got you there for you to be able to get what will take you to the next level. So clue number one, that it is time to move on, is threats. Two categories: internal threats, largely made up of abilities that need more room to expand and express themselves, and external threats, things that are changing, which will threaten the vehicle, the vessel, the skill set that you had, which means you need to adapt and to change. So it's time to move when there are threats. Number two, the second thing that happens is when you read Genesis 8, verses 1 through to 4, when it is describing how the water subsided, the Bible tells us the ark rested on the tops of Mount Ararat. Previously, in Genesis 7, you read about the ark going through the waters because this is a boat, so it's designed to find its best traction on water. But as the waters have ended, the boat has rested on the tops of Mount Ararat. And there's no more flood. Mount Ararat is in Turkey, tall place, no traction. The boat can no longer move. And so, for Noah to be able to thrive in his transition, he cannot be a sitting duck. He cannot be in a vehicle that has lost all its traction. And now the terrain has changed. There's no flood waters. The waters have receded back into the rivers and the streams and the oceans. And to sit in a boat and hope for a flood at the top of a mountain is a long shot. So Noah has to move because the traction has changed. And so it is with you. At times, the second clue that it is time to move to the door, it is time to reach for the door in your active waiting, is when there's a change in traction. So you ran a business that depended a lot on people visiting your store, and hey, things have changed. People want to buy things online. The traction of foot traffic has changed. It's time for you to pivot to the next side and begin looking for traction that will get you on the online, on delivery, on demand side. Hey, the pickup lines that probably worked in the 60s may have gotten our parents' spouses, but hey, those pickup lines ain't going to work here. So it's time for you to move your dating to what's important, what's current, what's new within this space. Similarly, it's time to move the expression of your faith away from the thing that took you in the past to this new side. So traction. Have you lost traction? It's probably a clue that it is time to reach for the door. It's time to move. And then the third and final clue that it is time to move is threats. Sorry, it was threats. Then the second one was traction. And then the third one is targets. When God has told Noah, hey, I want you to get out, you and the animals. And he says, the reason is because I want the animals and you to multiply. There's a target, there's a goal that I want you to move towards. And sitting at the top of a mountain, and Mount Ararat gets snow at the top, moving up there will not make you move any closer to your target. So I want you to get going because there's a whole world to conquer. There's a whole world to replenish. You need to get moving. You need to reach for that door and get going towards your target. Has life brought you to a place where you are now not moving closer to your target? It's probably time for you to stand back and ask yourself, hey, could I move? So you hang out with this dude, he's been nice, your families knows each other and stuff, but you've realized the principles he operates on and the principles you operate on are so divergent. He's not taking you to God's target for your life. You're not helping him go to God's target for his life. Despite the things that have been going on, it's probably time to consider actively, could this be a sign that it is time to move towards my target? Now, just a disclaimer, no one of these clues is the absolute clue that, hey, it's time to move. But when the three of them are brought together, threats, traction, and target, when the three of them come together, they give you a complete indication, threefold sign that tells you it's time to move. Are you feeling trapped? Could this be the time when you now need to begin thinking, is it time to move? What will it tell you? Internal and external threats? You've lost traction and you need to move to a place where you can get new and better traction. And thirdly, you need to move towards your target. And where you are or the direction you're going is not taking you. You need to change and begin moving towards your target. These three will tell you it's time to move. I'd be happy to know what this means for you and which directions you'd like to move. And I'd like to, of course, support you. But please stay with this conversation about authentic faith. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, let's meet at Authentic Faith.